If I'm being honest, body count really does not matter.
First and foremost, body count does matter, but the problem with that is nobody's going to be honest with you when you ask them what's their body count. And the few people that's going to tell you the truth, it's going to be very hard to believe them because everybody else before has been lying to you. I've started having sex about 15 years ago, so it took me 15 years to learn what I'm about to share with you. And I promise you, it's 10 times more effective than finding anybody's body count. This method is so powerful that we can actually take it away from sex. The best thing about it is that it works the same way for men and women. Boom. From a timeline standpoint, there are two types of relationships: long-term relationships and short-term relationships. Anytime a long-term relationship doesn't work out, each person typically works out with lessons. And anytime a short-term relationship doesn't work out, each person typically works out with preferences. Lessons takes a lot of time to ingrain in your head. You have to go through it over and over. You have to get hurt over and over. You have to make the same mistake over and over. And that long-term relationship gives you enough time for that over and over again to be happening. Boom. Now, short-term relationship gives you preferences. The reason why is because when you are with somebody for that short amount of time, that short amount of time is just enough for you to see the best thing about them, because nobody really starts dating anybody by putting their worst foot forward. Let's say you met a girl that's a virgin and she only had 3 relationships before you, and each one of these relationships were short-term relationships. Each boyfriend has something where they are the best at, meaning if you were to compete with them at that one thing, you would 100% lose every single time. Let's say boyfriend one, the best thing about him is the fact that he is a protector. 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 Boom. Protector to the highest degree, meaning that he protects her mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually, and from any angle you want to look at it. She feels safe every single time. Let's say that relationship is a short-term relationship and it doesn't work out. She's going to want that same exact thing from the next guy she ended up dating, either on the same level or way better than the first guy. Now, the likelihood for that to happen is extremely low. Even though she's not going to find this in the second guy, she's still going to get in a relationship with him, because that's the only way to find out whether the guy has this or whether the guy doesn't have that. However, he is going to have something that's the best thing about them, where he can beat everybody at it. Let's say that thing is he's very charismatic. I'm hoping I'm spelling that right. So let's say he's very charismatic. Like his charisma level is like way high. He knows how to talk. He knows how to move. He knows when to give jokes. So on and so forth. Where to open, where you just wanna be around him. You just wanna talk to him. You just wanna listen to him. Anytime you feel any kind of way, when it comes sad, mad, like unhappy, whatever, you just want a piece of him. Let's say that's the best thing about him. If that relationship doesn't work out, the next guy, the third boyfriend, she is not only going to want this from the third guy, she is going to want this from the third guy, and then this from the third guy. Now think about it. If it was hard for her to find just this in the second guy, now it's going to be 10 times harder to find this in this on the third guy. But she's still going to be dating the third guy, because that's the only way to find out whether he truly has either one of these or whether he doesn't have them. So the third guy is not going to have these two things, but he's going to have something that he's the best at. Let's say the thing that he's the best at is he's an extremely smart guy, to a point where you can't even believe it. Boom, smart. Once again, it's the same look. That relationship doesn't work out because it's a short-term relationship. The next guy, she's going to want these 3 things on the next guy. The guy, when it comes to protecting, plus charismatic, plus being very smart. And the more guys she goes to on a short-term relationship form, is the more she's going to add to her preferences. And you don't want a woman that has too many preferences. Now, everybody, whether if you're man or woman, you are going to get to a point where you have to settle, because your preferences is going to keep going up, to a point where it's impossible to find that person. impossible, meaning that you have the only way for you to be with somebody is you have to drop some of your preferences down so that you can bring yourself down to earth, aka to reality. And we have a word for that in the English language. It's called settling. Okay, so settling now becomes a must because you have went too high outside of reality. Now you have to come down. The standard definition of the word settling is 100% linked to not getting every single thing that you wanted. Anytime you have to minus or drop down from every single thing that you wanted, it is a form of settling. But the thing about settling is that there are two forms of settling. The first one is settling from what you had. Trust me, you do not want somebody who's settling from what they had to be with you, or settling from an idea, settling from just a want, meaning that you just watch a movie and then you want this type of guy. Okay, this is the type of person that you want from a settling standpoint, meaning that she was listening to a podcast and then they describe this kind of guy. Now she wants it. The reason why you want this form of settling instead when it comes to you is because it's very easy to brush whatever she wants off. However, if she had it before from each one of these guys, it's very hard to get her to forget about it, because this is not something that you just forget. It's gonna stay with you forever. You always going to remember the guy that protects you the most. You always going to remember the guy that was the most charismatic. You always going to remember the best, the smartest guy that you had, that was your boyfriend. Boom. Now, since settling becomes a must, when somebody settled from what they had, meaning that they had the experience, they had the wonderful treatment, they had the luxury experiences, they had the feeling of what it's like to be on cloud nine, all of that. If that person settles to come down to be with you because she or he wants to have kids, she or he wants to get married, he or she wants to stop playing the field, that relationship is most likely, meaning that 90% of the time, going to be positive in lying. Of course, I'm going to lie to you if I think I'm settling for you. If I had way better. Listen, all these podcasts out there, nobody's talking about this. Of course, I'm going to lie to you if I feel like I'm settling down for you based on all the better I've had that were way better before you. Of course, I'm going to cheat on you if I feel like you're getting the better end of this deal. Of course, I'm going to say things to try to manipulate you if I feel like, yo, I could have done better. In fact, I had better before. It doesn't matter if it was a short amount of time or long amount of time, but I had better. Of course, I'm going to abuse you mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually sometimes. If I feel like you did not deserve me. It took me 15 years, over 15 years to learn this. Once again, okay, to go back real quick, okay? If somebody has been in too many short-term relationships, they're gonna develop too many preferences because each one of these guys has something about them where they are better than most people are. Take sex out of the way. Let's say she didn't have sex with none of these guys. This is still bad because when she ended up meeting you, all of these preferences are going to be piling up, and now she's going to want you to have all of them because these preferences are not necessarily bad. They made her feel comfortable. They were luxury treatment, and now she wants all of that from you. Now, the second form of settling is settling from an idea, meaning that something desired by listening to your last podcast, by watching a Disney movie, right? This is 10 times easier to brush off. Okay, this 10 times easier to forget because you haven't had it to actually learn whether this is reality or not. In this relationship, from what I've noticed, this type of relationship where the person settled from an idea standpoint, this type of relationships usually is negative entitlement, because it's usually negative selfishness, it's usually negative cockiness, because your first actual experience is showing you that, yo, those preferences, wanting all of them in me, having all of them in me, this is not reality. Oh my God. Like, this is deep. This is deep. You know what? I'm going to end the video here, okay? I'm going to end the video. Because it's getting way too long. It's getting way too long. It's getting way too long. So if you guys want me to continue it, please let me know. I will for sure talk about that more. But this is way more important than finding out what somebody's body count is, because it will still give you the answer you need, even though that person never had sex with any of the guys she's been with. Okay, even though that girl is a virgin, even though that guy is a virgin, and by the way, this works for both gender too. Even though that guy or that girl is a virgin, it still give you the same exact answer you need to figure out, yo, should I stay or should I leave? Boom.